Hey everyone, it's Jonathan from Little Red Tug, and this is JP right behind me here, you can see. Today we're going to be working on our tug. It's a great day here in New England. We finally got some good spring weather. Before we take the boat out for its first maiden voyage for 2020, we need to do some maintenance, so we're going to do a couple things. We're cleaning up the inside. We put some dryer sheets and we put some mothballs and stuff to keep out any rodents and bugs, and so we've cleaned out the interior of the cabin. Now it's time to work on the rest of the boat, so one of the things that we're going to do is changing the fuel filters. This Volvo Penta has two fuel filters. There's a pre-filter here, and there's also a filter located right on the engine. And I'm going to show you today, this is the first time we're doing it ever, but we're going to show you how we do it and then see if we can get this fuel filter system running. Now there's no problems with the fuel filter that we anticipate. We're just doing this as part of routine maintenance. Before we put the boat away for the season, we filled the tank up and we added an additive to it. So hopefully between the additive and everything like that, we don't have a lot of water in there or condensate, but we'll figure it out. There's a couple different things we just wanted to play with on the fuel filter system that I wanted to show you with a couple photos and some videos that we're going to reroute some lines just to make this an easier process in the future. So let's change the filters.
What to do here is reroute the fuel line in and out of the Raycor filter. Right now the drip loop, the anti-siphon loop on the bilge pump is forward of the fuel lines. We're just going to disconnect these and reroute it so that this anti-siphon loop is to the back, which is going to make it easier to get access to the filter when we're working on it. Otherwise, the hose, as you can see, is right underneath it, and it's going to make access a little bit more difficult. We want to maintain this loop to prevent water from getting into the boat in the event of a hose failure.
So we're just going to undo the filter here at the top. There's one bolt that goes all the way through it, we think, and then it drains out into the bottom here. And you're going to see we just put a plastic tray, or he didn't put it in there in place yet. He's going to slide a tray right in place to catch any of the diesel fuel. And then we're going to just simply pull the fuel out, filter out here with the cup off the bottom. And this is what it's going to look like inside when you get into it. So you can actually see there's a fair amount of, a little bit of sediment in there.
And water.
So, and some water you can see right in there. And we're just going to pour that into that plastic bowl that we have off, and then we're just going to remove the filter, and you can see he's draining the filter and it'll come right up. We put some pig matting down there, and this is what it's coming out here as, and you can see there is, if you're going to turn it up to the sun, you might be able to see
the water on the bottom.
The water that's going to separate, and I'll take a picture of this after, but this is what it is here for our separation for the fuel filter separator. Alright, so we've actually taken this water separator out at the bottom. I cleaned this out here. We're just going to wipe this out, and then we're going to rinse it with some clean diesel fuel. Make sure that you have the gasket that stays with it, so this is going to go right back. It's in good shape, so we're going to use this gasket again. I don't think our filter comes with one, but we're going to reuse this filter and then fill it up with... We've actually moved a couple hoses around before we replaced the fuel filter. We took the bilge pump hose out and removed that just to get better access, and we've moved the other lines around just so we can have easier access to put this in. Now we're going to try and fill that fuel separator cup up with a little bit of fuel in the bottom here. I don't think the whole thing will fill up, just so that we have less to prime and there's less air in the fuel lines before we go ahead and replace the other fuel filter. Okay, so we filled our cup here with some fuel, diesel fuel. We're going to rest that gently in there, and JP is going to try and see if we can put this back together
without spilling. This process would have been a little bit easier if the Raycor mount was mounted a little bit higher. It would have given us a little bit more access underneath, I think, and ability to clear the exhaust line, which is right here. Okay. Make sure that gasket is seated. then we're gonna snug this down.
And then when we're done with this, we're just going to button up the back here. We're going to replace all the hoses that we removed. Just to make it easier, we're going to make sure everything's tight. And then we're going to clean out our aft bulkhead here, and then we're going to work on our secondary diesel fuel filter.
Right. We've changed our primary Raycor fuel filter, primed that as best we can, and now we're going to move on to our secondary filter on this Volvo Penta motor. I want to preface this by saying I've never done this before, neither has Jonathan, but we're trying to do the best we can based on the information that we have. We've got some matting down underneath here. We're going to try and minimize the amount of fuel that we have dripping into the bilge. There's our fuel filter right there. I've got the petcock shut off on the fuel tank. We did that before we changed the primary filter. Next clip, you're going to see us refilling the secondary filter. We're going to try and put that on as full as we can to minimize the amount of priming we have to do before we put this boat back in the water.
Yep.
Alright, so what we're doing now is we're going to crack the bleeder. Already we can see there's a little bit of air coming out just because the tank is full. So if we're lucky, just the tank gravity is going to push a lot of this air out here and make life easier for us. Set back down just a little bit and let's see what we get here. Getting straight fuel. Close that back off. We're going to prime this until we feel some resistance. Right now it's pumping very easily.
Move on to the again. Crank it, crack it a little bit.
Well, we're just getting straight fuel now, so. I'm getting some increasing resistance there. I can feel the fuel coming through it now. Good, I think we're ready to go. We'll clean up our fuel spills here and check for leaks one more time. Check all of our clamps. We'll be ready to back it into the water and start it up and see how much air we have in the fuel lines.
Alright, so we're back at the boat launch here. This is the first time we've done all our maintenance. We're going to see if it starts up and see how it goes here. So here goes nothing.
Watch your back.
Alright, so it's the shakedown cruise here. So we got the motor running, no problems, everything's looking great on our Ranger 21. We're at the Oxbow, and it's a portion just off the Connecticut River, just south of Northampton, Massachusetts here. We're out here and we're just doing a little test run for the boat for the afternoon, having a few beers. It's a great afternoon to be here, and we're so excited, and this is really good. Everything's running really well. As you can see here, that we have a nice speed up here, and we have a good water coming out the side. Everything's running well, and JP's up here having a beer. Hey JP. All good?
All good.